Hey guys, Torque17 here, coming at you with a long overdue tested video. What tested is a video series where you, the viewers, choose the shipping configuration that I play with, and how you do that is by leaving a comment below. And you just leave a comment with the type of ship, type of weapons, type of missiles, and type of shield that I'll use, and then we go ahead and play with it. So today's top comment is from Harbinger8, and he says, Torque17, if you can get the Gladiator, I'd love to see how you do flying it, and try a physical-based loadout, maybe like 2 Mantises and 2 Longswords. I'd just try staying with default missiles and using an ID size 4 shield, but if you're far more worried about missiles, then use a splash shield size 4. So, the Anvil Aerospace Gladiator is not a dogfighter, it is a bomber. And there actually isn't any gameplay for this ship in Arena Commander just yet. Arena Commander is known as the dogfighting sim, and this ship is far too slow at 190 meters per second and way too big, especially from the top and bottom. It's just massive. So in a decently close range fight, ships are not going to miss you at all. So this still can be an effective and fun loadout, but it's extremely challenging. So let's go into the weapons first, and we'll talk about those. The first weapon that Harbinger mentioned was the Mantis GT220s, and they're size 3 weapons. They fire 15 rounds per second, which is a lot of rounds, and they do 56 damage per, and for physical weapons, that's pretty high, with an 840 damage per second. Its muzzle velocity is quite fast at 1300 meters per second, and its range is 3250. So just looking at those numbers, this weapon looks extremely high damage, extremely accurate, and extremely long range. But there is something missing to those numbers. The spray of this weapon is massive. So at long range, you might hit 1 or 2 rounds from that 3250 range. And pretty similar from 2000 and around 1000 meters is when you start actually getting a bit more accurate with the weapon, but I'd say inside 900 is when you're going to actually be doing any damage to a ship. Now the other weapon is the 9 series longsword, which is a size 1 weapon, so that'll go up on the top turret there. It fires 3.33 rounds per second at a damage per round of 34, which leaves us with 113 DPS. And again, it is extremely accurate as well, with a muzzle velocity of 1400 and fairly long range with a 3080 meter range. And this weapon has almost no spray. So from long range, this weapon can be fairly accurate. Now, I would suggest going with a little different loadout with the Gladiator. Instead of the Mantis GT220s, I would go with the Sawbucks. And the reason being is, while they aren't as high DPS, they definitely are much more accurate from range. And given the speed and size of the Gladiator, you really want to start your fights from long range. And also, given its actual role, it's a bomber, right? So you're going to be firing a lot of missiles, and you know, the combination of missile fire plus long-range weapon fire is really where this ship should stand. Now, talking about the missiles, we can talk about the Tempest 2s, which are the standard missiles that come on this ship, as well as 2 size 5 torpedoes, which I won't do much talking about. Tempest 2s are fast. They have a high explosion proximity. So within 25 meters, these missiles are going to explode. And they also have a high blast radius of 50 meters. And it does about 1,000 damage per missile. It does 600 distortion damage and 400 physical damage. Now, one of the advantages of these missiles are that they're bugged still. They've been bugged since they've implemented them. And they're bugged in a different way now. They don't populate on screen very quickly at all. So within 100 meters, you have no idea that they're coming at you. You have no idea how to evade them because you don't know that they're coming. And they're essentially impossible to evade at 100 meters. And you'll see a lot of that gameplay happening in the video today. And the last thing that we'll talk about in terms of the loadout is the shields. So we did a combination of splash and ink shield, so I'll just tell you the difference between the two. The size 4 splash shields are 50% better against missiles, and each shield, both splash and ink, have 600 HP per shield. So there's 4 shields around the ship, totaling 240 HP. It has an extremely long regen delay, so it will not even start regenning until 22.75 seconds pass. Now, the ink is 100% stronger against physical weapons, which is kind of the weapon of choice in, again, patch 1.1.6a/1.2. It's 50% better against energy weapons, and it's about half as good against splash damage, which is missiles. So the slowed regen really hurts. This is mostly a physical patch, so it's really, really difficult to recommend a shield tier. They're both pretty good for different reasons. Given that the physical loadouts are the most popular loadouts in this patch, you can argue against using the ink shield, or you can really argue using the splash shield, because you're so slow that people can put themselves in that position where you can't avoid a missile. So it's probably better to have the size 4 splash shields, and I think for the majority of the video that's what I went with. I initially went with the ink and decided to switch because I was getting destroyed with missiles. To go offensive with this ship, it's really difficult. Again, always have a missile locked. Now, it's missile or missiles, because with certain ships, like we said, there is about 1,000 damage per round of missiles for the Tempest 2s. So for certain ships, they take a lot more damage than others, right? So for Hornets, I recommend 3+. For smaller ships like Mustang Deltas, M50s, just 1, and probably 2 to 3 for an Avenger, and 300 series ships. Now, always have those missiles locked, and the reason is because it takes about 5 seconds for a missile to officially lock on so you can fire it. The Tempest 2 missiles, at least the cross-section missiles. So always have it locked, so when it is locked and they are in a vulnerable position, you can just fire and let them go. Now, again, I would really prefer to use these missiles and weapons from longer distances, like 1,500 to 2,000 meters plus, because the turning ratio of the missiles is really low. So at long distances, the larger, less maneuverable ships, you can actually get away with firing cross-section missiles a bit farther because they stay on you pretty hard, but you just can't combine the fired missile with the long-range weapon because you just can't be accurate enough. It's really frustrating. So really what you're looking to do is get within 750 meters, get them in a situation where they're coming directly head-on with you, let go a few missiles, and lay on your guns, and you should be doing tons and tons of damage. Now going towards the defensive side of things, this is even more difficult. You're always going to try and be facing them directly, your enemies, because if they're above you or below you, they are never going to miss. You are a giant bullseye. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the ways to be defensive. Another way is to kind of use cover if you can, because the amount of time that it takes your shields to regen is so long that you're really going to have to try and engage in short fights, just one ship at a time. I don't think it's going to be really easy for you to switch from one target to another if they know that you're there. So you're really going to want to be sneaking up on your targets while they're engaging other fighters, let go a few missiles, and really lay on your guns. Because if they know you're there, it's pretty easy to hit you with both missiles and guns because the ship is just not that maneuverable. Another way to be defensive with this ship is to not lay on your boost. Do not lay on it because it will disappear quickly. You'll see in a lot of the video that we showed today that my boost is almost always at 0 because I did lay on it. I'm used to doing that because I'm mostly a Hornet pilot, and it became really difficult for me to realize that I really have to use my boost and strafes in very short bursts in order to hold on to it long enough that if somebody did fire a missile at me, or if somebody was directly firing at me, that I can strafe up, down, left, right, and try and avoid fire and missiles. So it was really difficult, and but it was a lot of fun using this ship. I've never really flown this ship in Arena Commander because of what I said before. There's really no gameplay for it. But it turned out it was a really good time. I mean, using missiles was a little bit frustrating to my other opponents, and you can tell they kind of came back at me with a similar strategy, which is honestly more effective against me than it is against them typically. So it did become difficult long term, but we had a really good time, and it's definitely not a loadout that I would recommend to anybody, but you can certainly try using the sawbucks with this ship in replacement of the mantises. I can see that being an extremely effective loadout for, say, a mouse and keyboard user. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and I hope you guys enjoyed this Testis video. So please leave a comment below on what ship and combination you want to see me fly next, and I will use one of the top comments for the next video, guys. So if you like this video, go ahead and like it. If you disliked it, you know what to do. And if you are looking for more videos like these tested series in the future, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't checked out my Twitch stream, go ahead and do so. It is at twitch.tv/Torque17, and I will see you guys next time.